steps out of the shadows, darkly of the night.
Hello, everybody. This is Jim Cummings, but you may know me better as Darkwing Duck, the terror that flaps in the night. And you are about to groove very heavily to the Nerd Effect Podcast, if you know what's good for you. Darkwing out.
Darkwing, Darkwing, now. Cloud of snow and heat.
Welcome out to another episode of the Nerd Effect Podcast. We're on episode number 47. I am one of your hosts, Dustin Vancouver, joined by my good buddies,
Malcolm Morgan,
Mason Ireland,
Nikki Prindle.
and we are joined by a very special guest today. What is your name, good sir?
Jason Dudley.
Yay! And we're gathered here today to talk about Jason's Kickstarter. Now, Jason, we were told at the before the show started that you also go by Jake. Is there a preference at this table that you would like to go by?
Well, my friends call me Jake, and it'll be easier for a lot of people to call me that because Mason will break eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
His brain will go up in flames.
First name learned was Jake. You are Jake forever.
I really like hearing Mason's brain snap, though.
Well, you know.
It makes a really fun noise.
I'm not cleaning up the mess. Not this time.
Okay.
All right. Well, Jason.
It'd have to be you or
Jake.
Dustin. I would say it'd have to be you or
I
Dustin
answer
to
to
clean up
lots
the
of
mess.
things, Jake, Jason, hey, you. Some that probably shouldn't
That
be
guy.
repeated.
That's the thing, because you were talking about introductions. I was introduced as Jason.
Yeah.
So we should keep it at both and just see how many people we confuse. Maybe we'll just have multiple personalities by the end of the show.
Some people have accused me of that, but...
I'll say
many.
Jake, just because I know that now. Jake, tell us about yourself.
Well, where should I start? I'm parent, artist, author. I fool around with hobbyist animation every now and again. I'm a gamer. Got sucked into World of Warcraft, but played tons of games. Into FPSs for a long time. But originally I thought I was going to be a comic artist. When I was a kid, I was like, I'm going to make a superhero comic book, and it's going to be about a flying hamster.
I would read it.
And eventually I got to the point where I realized I love drawing, but I don't like drawing backgrounds, and I'm not really into drawing the same character over and over and over again for sequential art. And so I never finished that many comics. Like, it took me 5 years to finish the 2 Simri comics that I have done.
Yes.
And then I realized that what I really wanted to do was tell a story, because every time I was drawing a character or creating a comic, I was really creating the story about that character and their history. And I'm a gamer. That's, where I met Mason back in the day.
Yep.
Played in a mage game, which actually helped formulate some of the ideas for stories I created later on, because some of the characters from there are still in them.
Yep.
And, eventually I came to the point where I was like, I must write a novel. And then I discovered NaNoWriMo and actually wrote a novel in a month, which was insane. The idea of trying to write like 1,600 words in a month, I hadn't even thought of that, because I wrote scripts for comics, which is like dialogue. So and so hits so and so, and then I draw it. Draw little thumbnails. I didn't have to draw or write out full paragraphs of descriptions and such like that. So it was hard for me at first. But once I got done, I was like, holy crap! I actually have a full story. And that moment was what made me sure that I was going to do it again, because I'd never had that feeling when I finished a comic. Because of the comic, it's just it's designing, planning, drawing, inking, coloring, and then by the time you get to the end and you're doing the typesetting for the lettering, you're like, I'm done.
And then with an ongoing comic, you start all over again.
Yay.
So.
Or you just never quit.
Right.
And I love comics. Don't get me wrong. I mean, some of the greatest comics out there are incredibly long. Things like Lone Wolf and Cub, Usagi Yojimbo, Sandman, incredible. Oh, and of course, Sandman worked with so many different artists. Neil Gaiman wrote it, but he worked with different artists, and they would sometimes be working in tandem for different episodes,
right?
Because he'd written ahead. And I wouldn't mind doing that.
And then he worked with Charles Vess again, and they did Stardust together.
Oh, I love Stardust.
Yeah.
What also helps too that a lot of major comic lines like Marvel and DC and all that stuff also have teams of artists. You know, there's one guy who does the pencils, one guy who does the ink, one guy who does the typeset, one who writes the story, that type of thing too. So that probably helps too. When you're not, one man doing all of it
I
yourself.
wanted to be a colorist when I was in high school. So.
Well, I wasn't saying I wanted to do all of it because I didn't want anybody else to have creative control. Because I always heard, what happened to Stanley in the beginning, and then,
Or even more recently, Linsner, when he almost lost Dawn to his partner.
Well,
Good
that would have
point.
been sad.
Yeah.
and
Linsner is done. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh, yeah.
ongoing arguments about Superman, Batman, Kirby, anything like that. And I mean, not even just in comics, but any field where you've got somebody working for a company. I mean, some of my favorite characters come from those companies. Wolverine is one of my favorite characters. Big X-Men fan as kid, but of course Batman. But yeah, I
Nikki
mean,
flashed her X-Men shirt to
I did. It's
everybody.
true.
how many
Gambit.
people know how many movies Alan Moore wrote the original story for?
Yeah. And then they butcher it, and he hates them all.
Yeah. And I mean, I like V for Vendetta. I like Watchmen. I think that they're good movies, but I think the comics were better.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how I feel about Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter, but I think the books were better.
Dark Knight Returns was Alan Moore too, wasn't it?
No, that was Frank Miller.
Frank Miller.
That was Frank Miller's first real getting to do something as Frank Miller the way Frank Miller wants to do it.
Yeah.
Breakout was Dark Knight Returns.
My first
That's why
favorite-
he was allowed to do things like Sin City later.
There's got to be somebody out there wanting to punch me now after saying that, I'm sure. But
Out there,
run for cover.
So yeah, comics came first, and then stories have always been a family thing. But eventually, I got to the point where I realized that the novels is where I was going to end up.
Very good. I guess so. You're here to promote your Kickstarter for a book.
Yes.
Um,
My first full novel, Fabricated Dreams, and it's a cyberpunk novel. If give a little bit of idea about it, because I'm sure not anyone's heard of it, unless they're my Facebook friend or follow me on Twitter, or Google Plus, or Tumblr, or
the social media outlets.
yeah, because it's been everywhere. I've just been hammering my poor family with it.
like, hey, throw money at this for me, buddy. That'd be
Please.
great.
Yeah, buy my book. But it's a cyberpunk novel, and for the main story is the main character is Fina, and it starts when her father's murdered, and this forces her to go back to Riara, which is a fabricated world of virtual reality, which is fully immersive virtual reality, and it's far enough in the future where computers, instead of being something that's necessarily external, are installed in your brain. Not everybody
Mason
has
wants.
them, but
Yes.
they've been around for a long time. And so they would directly, interface with the biochemical, electrochemical impulses in your brain. So to be able to fully experience VR, you have to go into a near subconscious, unconscious state, so that you can stop moving your body and actually dream in these other worlds. And of course, it's like a lucid dream. You're aware, and you're able to control your body there and your avatar and what have you. And
Matrix style?
yeah, very much Matrix style, but not evil robots trying to suck our energy out.
Right.
No human goo batteries.
Yeah, no human batteries.
I'm just saying about that the thought of uploading your brain into it.
Oh, and it's not really uploading. It's more like interfacing, because she's
Right.
interfacing with servers that are a lot like an MMO. You've got multiple people, very much like the Matrix, in the same virtual world, and her going back there is to claim her inheritance because her father helped create it, Riara, and so she has to fight and complete a quest to be able to claim her inheritance, or she'll lose control of Riara, and the company that owns it will destroy it and replace it with something else. But at the same time, she's also got to catch the murderer or be caught by him. It's a kind of murder mystery plus MMOs plus cyberpunk. There's a little bit of espionage, a lot of action, some fantasy thrown in because it's a fantasy virtual reality world. So there's elves and dragons and undead. And kind of genre bending. Probably not the best idea for mass market, but hey, I write what I like to write. So
Well, I mean, it just
Well, that's
appeals
what
to
kick-
more people. So
Well, that's what Kickstarter is good for, is to getting it out there to people who actually have a common interest. You
Right.
know? Yeah. I think it's a great idea.
Absolutely. I'm nodding on a podcast, so
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, I think we're all guilty of the whole going and nodding on the podcast. Yeah. So yeah. Any words from Mike? Because otherwise, if we don't
What?
bring him up, he'll just stay there and be silent the whole time.
I will not. So, so first,
Yes.
yes, yeah, I'm bringing it up. I'm rubbing it in.
Will you clarify for people?
So I am officially Jake's first donor first Kickstarter.
yes, you're the first person to donate, and I didn't actually tell anybody at first because I wasn't sure if you wanted to have that known, but now I realize that you're going to be like, ha, first! Because this is you. But yeah, you are the first person to donate, and thank you very much.
Very well.
It was exciting to get that first email and go, oh my god, somebody actually bought my book. It's every author's dream. I did publish a webcomic online for a short period of time, but I couldn't keep up with the schedule, and it died very quickly.
That seems to be a lot of people's
I had the
issue
same
with-
thing.
Yeah.
And I also thought that would be my issue with this podcast at one point, was like, I'm just not going to find time to edit this motherfucker. But
What,
luckily
like you
I
got
have
a toddler or something.
yeah.
Yeah,
Gee.
kids and
Yeah, so I mean, luckily I do find time, and I have a very understanding wife who knows that this is kind of like the one thing I enjoy doing on my off time with my buddies. So,
well, anything you really love has to be a commitment of that type, and
Yeah.
that was the thing that stopped me from writing. So I never thought it was going to be good enough, so I didn't want to commit to writing something that was complete crap. And that's the one thing that I got out of NaNoWriMo that was the best from the Chris Beatty book, and the whole movement is that don't care. You can go back and edit it later.
Right.
Of course, the idea of editing it later was, I didn't realize how big that was going to be. It took me a month to write, 2 years to edit. And a lot of that was learning how to edit.
Yeah.
I have some friends that participate in that, and one of them's been working on the same book every year. Like, she just literally sits down and rewrites the whole thing.
Wow.
Because she still doesn't have it where she likes it.
My mom always said rewrites are endless, because, I mean, my mom wrote, told stories, drew, a lot of my impetus comes from her and my brother, who is also an artist and creator, and, he's got a full Boba Fett costume that he made, and,
Awesome.
he's full con cosplay, and, yeah, so, I mean, I get a lot of impetus from my family for that, and she always said that rewrites were endless, but I think that after a certain point you have to let it go. You have to
Right.
just, and, oh god. But,
Yeah.
realize what I
like-
just said, but...
Yeah. That's one of the things I've heard from pretty
Dustin
much.
just let his father of a 3-year-old girl colors show, by the way. He was hoping I'd let it slide, but he just started singing Let It Go from Frozen. And I'm not going to let that slide.
Okay.
Okay. Continue.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
that's one of the things
okay, I'm right there with you.
I've heard from pretty much all writers is that you're never going to be satisfied with your own work. You just have to realize when it's good enough to let it out into the world. And I think that's one of the things where I've noticed that a lot of companies, even big publishing houses, are kind of expecting the author to do more of their own editing, whereas I think it's a good idea to actually have, once you can, if you're picked up and you can get on with an editing house, actually have an external editor, so they can go, okay, no, this is fine. You need to change this. Keep this. You don't need that.
Even if I was perfect at English, which I'm not,
No one is. English majors aren't. So
it helps to just have another set of eyes look
Right.
at it, another viewpoint, another personality, someone from a different walk of life. My sister read it and it's like, what the heck's happening in this scene? And so she's having trouble with emotional content between characters, and she's like, why did this happen? And this shocked me, and she doesn't question any of the gunfights because she knows that we were raised by a gunsmith, and so both of it, she's like, yeah, he could do that one-handed. So
right.
So what was your process going into the book? At what point were you like, I'm gonna sit down and do this? What were your steps that you took? How did you get into writing the book?
Well, I always have stories going on in my head because I don't not tell stories. And so I had some ideas that one was originally going to be a comic story that was people living in an MMO world. That was the original impetus of the entire story from that viewpoint. But preparing for writing it, I took story ideas that I had in my head that had come along from, watching something, reading something, dreams sometimes. And I took 3 of them, 3 basic ideas, because I knew I wanted 3 different viewpoints in the story. Because I wanted to make things complicated. I don't know. But I knew I wanted to have more than one character, because I didn't want it to all be in the game. Because I thought that would lose some of the dynamic tension, because if everything that happens in the game, you die in the game, oh no, what happens, who cares?
Right.
I didn't want to go with the idea that you get in so many books, which is if you die in the game, you die in real life.
Right.
And so I decided
Didn't
I'd
want
have
to hack sign it.
So I thought about it a bit before I sat down, and I took the ideas I had, and I'm like, okay, where do I want to start? And I wanted to start with something dramatic, and so you get the dramatic hook, so murder. And from there, I'm like, well, who would the murder matter to? Lovers, family, what have you. And so I already had the characters, so I'm like, which character's family member must die? Which is horrible, but as a writer, you have to do this. Actually, as a GM, you do this too. You're like, who am I going to kill this week? But, and so, it wasn't quite as cold as that, because it was more about, I had this idea for this story, and I had this idea for this story, and the other story had to do with murders that were committed that could only be committed in a cyberpunk world without giving too much away. But and then of course I wanted to show the future itself. What would happen with technology, and because I'm a tech geek, I love fantasy as well. But I've always been interested more in trying to figure out what comes next. And then when actually sitting down to write it, I wrote a full synopsis, which was more like, this is what's going to happen in the first chapter, kind of. We start here, and then we go there, and then this happens, and then somebody gets hurt, and then they lose this, and then they, so there's a very basic synopsis, but not like a fully written out, full-blown one. And then I just started writing, because I was like, if I don't just start writing, I will never finish it. And that was the difference between everything else I did, because I would always plan everything, and never finish it. So
I think that's called procrastination.
Yes.
And I understand that very well.
The creative process.
Yeah.
I just thought that was just part of it.
Never finishing anything?
Yeah, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't
You
have
know
a
what-
giant bag of half-finished projects.
And I have like a folder full of half-finished drawings that I've had for years that just never quite got finished.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you lose the spark in something, you can't work on it.
And
So it's
at
good
least-
for you for making yourself do it anyways, because
Well,
I wish I could do that.
years and years, I've had 6 separate scripts for the same comic, which like I was saying earlier, drawn 2 of.
Yeah.
That may have been before we started recording. But I've only ever drawn 2 of this one series, and it took me almost 5 years to do.
Yeah.
And so it was that frustration of never finishing anything that it was like, I got to finish a story. And so NaNoWriMo came along, and I was like, ooh, this looks like a challenge. And I knew that if I stuck to it, if it was somebody else's rules, I could stick to it. Because if it was me, I would be like,
I can always modify my own rules. I'm
Yeah.
making them up.
exactly.
Exactly.
It's like the pizza. I'm only going to eat 4 pieces of the pizza. I'll eat the rest of it tomorrow. By the time
6 pieces
Where did
later.
the pizza go?
I hate myself.
you've eaten the pizza, you've made the cookies, you're
And then the next day you're sad that there's no leftover pizza.
Exactly.
But you also hate yourself because you ate a whole pizza. Yeah.
I used to get the pizza and the breadsticks from Papa Murphy's, and then I get the
breadsticks
cookie dough, and I can't do that anymore.
Because you know your limitations.
No, because, well, yes. But because my limitations are artificially enforced by diabetes.
So, yeah, that'll do it too.
Yeah, it was the 2 pizza, 2, huge 2 liters of soda, gaming night person,
That'll do it.
6 to 8 hours of Final Fantasy VII.
Stop looking at me.
as we look at Mike, who's already got 2 1-liter bottles of Mountain Dew sitting in front of him.
Hey, it's only 2
Final
1-liter
Fantasy
bottles.
VII is the reason I didn't have a social life in high school. Like, that was... Oh, God, that game.
I would work a 10-hour shift at oh my gosh, I was doing HP support back for MCI WorldCom, and I'd work a 10-hour shift, and then I'd go home, and I would sit down with my PlayStation, and I'd just stay there until I went to sleep, and
fall asleep playing the game and then have dreams about the game.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that game. They're supposed to be remastering it and redoing it for the PS4.
I know that they're releasing it for the PS4, but
I heard they're improving the graphics too.
For the entire PS3 cycle, they had that one trailer. That one trailer made you believe it was going to happen. But the thing is, it's still selling, and Square Enix is like, it's still selling. If we remake it, we could screw it up.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they want to do that. Now, I would love it.
I would. What I was going to say is, speaking of, like, with Square Enix, they got really gun shy and started trying to. Now, mind you, this is Mason, the guy who doesn't really like JRPGs, but they started trying to make a lot of games that were more and more Western RPG styled, and they weren't that good. It was Square Enix's art, which they're credit where credit's due. They've always had some of the most awesome video game artists around.
Yeah.
But they started trying to like Westernize the combat systems and stuff to more what Western RPGs are like. And it was one of the Fire Emblem games. They finally came out with another one, and then it sold like hotcakes because it was the way JRPGs were back in the day, as far as the turn-based combat and stuff and everything. And it sold like wildfire. And they went, oh, right, we actually have a market. And then have started trying to...
And they came out with Bravely Default and some of the more traditional style.
And we're coming out with more traditional JRPG games. And, excuse me, kudos to them because they had a market and they forgot who their market was because they were trying to compete with, EA and Activision.
Well, yeah. The last Square Enix game I bought was, there's quotations there.
Yeah.
It was Tomb Raider.
Oh,
which is, Eidos.
Wow.
Eidos, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a good game, but there was I have problems with it.
Wait, which Tomb Raider?
Tomb Raider, the newest one.
The newest Tomb Raider, the
How
one
dare you, sir? That was a fantastic game.
Okay, do you like the game or do you like Lara Croft?
The game is amazing.
The game is actually...
The gameplay is excellent.
Yeah.
The storyline is good, but I don't know. It was a lot shorter than I expected in some ways.
It was a lot shorter.
I could never get into Tomb Raider because my impression was always it's not really all that storyline focused. It's make her crawl through tunnels for the teenage boys that we know are buying this focused.
The newest one isn't like that.
No.
I mean, granted, it's been a while.
Some scenes
since...
that people had some issues with
Yeah.
in the story, and I can understand why.
Keep in mind, my first experience with Tomb Raider was my little brother playing it, so that might be...
Triangle boobies!
Yeah. Oh my god, the first one.
The polygonal,
I'm like, why do you keep making her crawl? And he didn't realize that I was in his room, and he's like, nothing.
I actually never really played those a lot, the first ones, because I didn't really dig them.
Yeah.
And I was more into like Quake and FPS at that point. I didn't really get into JRPGs until Final Fantasy VII. I had seen Final Fantasy VI and thought it was the greatest thing in the world, but I had a Sega Genesis and I had Street Fighter II for my Super Nintendo, and I had Super Mario World. I wasn't really, and by the time I got to PlayStation, I wasn't really looking for Tomb Raider. And on PC, I was playing things like I said, Quake,
Yeah.
Then I got into EverQuest.
How many countless hours of Quake did we play at Cyberpunk?
Oh, gosh. Rocket jumping off of people's heads.
Yep.
I said Quake like 12 times. I played Quake Arena. They released the free version.
Right.
And I realized how terribly bad I am, or I've just gotten old. Or both.
Trying to pick up video games.
It's a lot of it is that you, after so long of not playing it, you've lost the muscle memory of how, and yeah.
Part of it is being old.
Dude,
It's actually not as big of a deal as people try to make it out to be.
I took a 1 week vacation from our work, and I came back. I completely forgot how to keyboard.
I
just lost it. I was like, "What? Nope.
This button does this letter."
Too much touchscreen?
No, I type every single day.
We have the ergonomic one.
You take 1 week off, and it's like, okay, yes.
That's how I learned I was typing the letter B with the wrong finger my entire life. Because I learned how to type in like 3rd grade. Yeah. And apparently I didn't learn right. And I've always typed the B with the wrong letter, the wrong finger.
I type completely wrong, even though I use all of the fingers, because I learned on a Commodore 64 when I was 3.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I loved that Commodore 64.
I had a PC Junior.
Oh.
And it was awesome, and I had the little printer for it that went and printed out the things with the strips on the sides.
Dot matrix.
Dot matrix printers.
And you'd make the little, like, foldy things out of them.
Yeah. Oh my god, I used to.
Right?
And they bounce up and down like little
Yeah, they were like
boxes
little
and-
springs, yeah.
Oh, I love that stuff.
That was like half of why I printed shit out was to rip those off and make things out of them.
I remember in junior high, somebody taught me how to make basically it was just like thumbtack, like just a way to destroy people. You take two staples, twist them together so that the opposite ends are
Yeah, it's
facing
a
this way and
caltrop.
this way. So no matter how you throw a handful of them, no matter what, they're always going to be a point up. And
That's just mean.
Yeah, that's a horrible, horrible thing to do. Never done anything like that, really.
So we've gone from video games to retro to classroom terrorism.
Go with it. Go with it.
Yeah.
I was the weird kid that would take roly-polies from the playground and try and keep them as pets in my cubby in secret. And then they would die because they're
You
not
never
supposed to
fed
live
them.
in empty milk cartons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't really that into insects, but of course, I did mention my father owned a gun store, so even as a child, we're raised with the concept that you kill things for food and you don't kill things for fun, or so we had to respect animals. And
I didn't kill things on purpose. I wanted pets, and I love all the animals. These guys can vouch for that.
yeah,
I want a farm someday. Yeah, I just really thought that they were going to be my pets, and they were going to just live there and be happy. And
Nikki also went in on the small house movement too.
I do. It's true. It's going to happen.
not sure if my father would count insects as animals.
It depends on the insects. Roly-polies are kind of fun.
They're cute. They're cute. I have to admit that. I loved antlions as a kid. The little
Those
tiny-
are cool, yeah.
Oh man, I just push ants in there and watch them die. I was a
Oh,
horrible,
that's the
horrible
best.
child.
I remember I saw a thing about that on Discovery Channel, and I'd never noticed them before. And then I saw them everywhere. I'm gonna fuck with all these bugs and just push them in there. Yeah, that was so cool.
I was so interested in that as a child because I was like, "What is that little creature down there?"
Yeah,
And so I'd dig them out and they'd try and escape. And
those were cool.
What am I missing?
Okay, so there's these bugs that make these like funnels.
Oh,
in the
yes,
dirt.
yes.
Yeah, and
Antlions.
other bugs.
Yeah, okay.
antlions, and then other bugs fall in and they eat them, and it's really cool.
I
These
know.
bugs are
Okay, I
awesome.
don't try about now.
The circle of life.
Right?
Yeah.
I apologize for the screaming car that just drove by our building.
I got passed by a motorcycle earlier I heard him coming up behind me, so I knew he was there, but his engine was so loud that when he got next to me and revved it, it still scared me. Like, through my headphones and my helmet, it made me jump while I was riding my scooter. It was super awesome.
So going back to the Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah, the thing that you're here for.
oh yeah,
You have awards for people.
Oh, yeah, tell us about
Tell us
for
about
reward
the
levels, stuff like that.
the actual
the reward
Kickstarter
levels.
Well, of course, I have a trouble with the shilling part. With a Kickstarter, you have to have rewards. You have to produce a physical product, and mine, of course, is the ebook. Is obviously not a physical product, but you can get an ebook for $5, ebook plus 2 short stories for $8, and the short stories are related. One's a prequel to the novel, and the other one is basically the prototype story I wrote before I was actually writing the novel. It wasn't exactly to write the novel, but to get the idea for what eventually became the novel. And it is related to one of the characters directly and relates to the story pretty tangentially, but still a lot of fun. Then oh my gosh, I gotta remember them from my mind. At $25, there is a physical book with $5 shipping. Yay, shipping. And it's a 6x9 perfect bound book. Of course, it'll be black and white interior, cover to cover. And then there's the extra rewards, like a signed edition, which is $50, because I'm gonna have to ship that one twice for sure, at least.
Right.
And then the highest reward is $100, which would come with an 8x10 drawn by me. Of course, you can
He is an awesome artist. I would just like to point that out.
examples of
by the
my
way.
artwork, including things like flying pony dragons and dogs, and undead knights.
You had me at Flying Pony Dragons.
Yeah, I was like, what?
On my Tumblr, which is linked from my Kickstarter, as well as technically I have a DeviantArt, but I don't think there's really much on that. So mostly my Tumblr.
DeviantArt's
and
one
my
of those
Twitter.
things where you set one up and then don't remember your password ever forever.
Yeah,
and
I uploaded all my backlog of artwork and then never went back.
Yeah.
I'm Nighttime App on Twitter, which is the word nighttime in APP, like an application, but it's for Nighttime Apparition, which is actually the name of a story I will someday write. Don't usually say that, but since I am talking about books, that was the first. It was a nightmare I had when I was a kid, and my grandfather and my mother kind of told me to talk about my nightmare to get it out and make it not scary. And so I drew pictures of the creature in my nightmare, and I had very vivid dreams as a kid, and it was like a full story, like living in another world type dream. And I've had dreams like that my whole life. I love dreams, which is part of the reason why it's called Fabricated Dreams. But that was the first time I wrote down a story and like shared it with somebody, and they thought it was interesting, because up until that point, you know, most of my drawings were primarily things that other people had created, and trying to emulate my brother, who was a much better artist than I was, and things like that. And so it was kind of like, wow, I can do something. And so after that, I was looking for other things that I could create that would give me that same feeling of, wow, this is neat, and give me attention. And eventually, I realized that I just liked writing the stories more than I liked the attention. But as a kid, the attention is great.
Yeah.
And it's still kind of great. But
It's also kind of therapeutic getting your dreams out there, too.
Yeah.
yeah. A lot better than rewriting the same story so many times. And going, no, it's not right. But, so yeah, those are the basic Kickstarter rewards. The ebook comes in pretty much any format you'd want: PDF, Mobi.
That's what I was going to ask.
EPUB.
EPUB because it's really easy to do and it's DRM free.
Yes.
And PDF because some people don't actually have e-readers. And you can actually read a PDF on a computer.
And they live with dinosaurs.
Yes.
Most e-readers can read PDF too anyway,
Yeah.
can't they?
But, you know.
Face can read PDF.
And Mobi because, my gosh, who doesn't use Kindle?
Yeah. It came with my phone. I use it.
Well,
That's on my phone, too. I still don't use it.
I have an Android phone, which is not hooked up to anything anymore, but I still have it. A Samsung Galaxy S2, and an iPhone, and I have my app on both of them, and just read on one or read on the other one. And I have this horrible little Pentax tablet that I want to read on, but it just is so slow.
Oh, sometimes
It's
we
not
should
Pentax,
top
it's
crappy
Polaroid.
tablets.
Yes, it's
Polaroid tablets like the.
It's a beautiful tablet. It's just really slow. It does the greatest things. It does Spotify, Hulu, and you'd think if it did Hulu, it would do ebooks.
You'd think.
I had.
But nay, sir, it does not.
I had a $50 Groupon tablet. I believe the company name was Double Power or something dumb like that. I had it for a month, and then it stopped working. And the only thing I was using it for was my character sheet for D&D for a while. I think we've probably got 2 hours of just me bitching at my tablet recorded because of that. So I eventually went back to paper because it was so awful.
Paper character sheets.
I know
I am
now.
old school in the character sheets. I still have character sheets for characters I had from when I was a kid.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
My brother, well, I don't have the first one. My brother killed my illusionist, my first illusionist, by having a dragon eat it. Dragons can see through illusions in original D&D rules.
Yep. Not even a save.
So wait,
They
does
just
that
see
mean
straight through?
Does that mean Smog should have been able to see Frodo?
The One Ring is the
It's-
One Ring.
Yeah, that's a very powerful one. I was a very low-level illusion wizard, sorcerer, whatever, and I was sneaking through my brother's
Illusionist.
dungeon. It was
You
illusions.
gotta say it like that.
Illusions.
Illusionist.
Yeah, that.
And yeah, so I remember it distinctly because he described the chewing of my character between the teeth, and my attempts to save myself. And I like cast a giant King Kong like ape to try and scare it, and it's like the dragon's not scared of it and also can see through your illusion. And I'm, no. Yeah, my brother killed lots of my characters. I had a character who literally had his legs chopped off at the knees more than once.
Oh.
'Tis but a flesh wound.
So instead of your brother beating you up, he just killed your characters off.
Yeah,
My brother and I have
a
never
lot.
played together, and now
A
I'm feeling
lot.
like that's a good idea.
He blew off the same character's arm with a explosive arrow, and that was with Heroes Unlimited rules. So it cauterized the wound after blowing off the arm, and I played lots of RPGs in my childhood.
See, I thought you guys got along so well.
We actually do. We get along great.
They take it out on each other in the gaming world.
He's just a really, realistic DM. What can I say? And I have really, really bad dice rolls. I have critical failed so many times. I critical failed on trying to make a fireball in Mage and burned off all of my character's hair.
Yeah. Because I was being nice.
Yeah, you let me live. And I'm thankful for that.
See, Dustin and I are new to this relatively, so Mike's usually nice to us.
Well, Warhammer had
lets us be idiots and not.
Yeah, well, we're doing it more for the show than trying to.
Yeah, I think
actually
Mike
kill you guys
understands to try and keep the show going.
Well, I mean, we could always roll up new characters.
Yeah,
that's true. We could.
But I like mine, and I'd throw things at your window from across the parking lot if you killed her off.
Thankfully, my brother didn't kill my characters off as much as I got older. But every now and again, I do something stupid, like try and, attack a Geiger style aliens with Wolvie style claws.
Acid for blood and all.
Do that?
Yeah. That was not a good day. We were in space too. It was bad.
That was a pretty sweet superpowered beatdown if you've ever seen that.
In space, no one can hear you botch.
Wolverine versus Predator.
Oh.
I have not seen that one.
I want that
Oh my god, I'm doing that for an episode.
What did I just miss?
That on a shirt. I said in space, no one can hear you botch.
That is awesome. That is well worth it.
That should be our T-shirt for Teespring.
Yes.
Yes. I second, third, fourth.
Yeah,
most
yeah,
of
no, I want that on a shirt really, really bad, so we should, so I can buy one.
So D20 with the 1 and space in the background.
Yeah.
The shuttle blowing up in the back.
Yeah. In space.
So yeah, that's the sort of things that inspired me to write a crazy novel with, like I said, goblins, dragons, undead, in cyborgs, in a cyberpunk world far in the future.
Makes sense to me.
Yep.
I'm all for it.
Something I've noticed recently, it's been kind of interesting. The more technological we get, and the more into this kind of like cyberpunk reality we're getting into, the fantasy genre is kind of picking up because of it.
Yeah.
Because we can do the CG graphics and the online games and all that, and so more people that normally aren't into it are getting into it.
For some people as well. I mean, I love technological things because I wouldn't even be alive right now if it wasn't because of tech. As I mentioned, I'm diabetic, and the insulin I use is created from baker's yeast that's been genetically modified to create insulin instead of its normal byproduct.
Which is carbon dioxide.
Yes.
We learned about that in Biolab last week.
Oh, neat. And so before that, they used pig insulin because it's the closest human substitute. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't, it didn't produce the highest quality results in people who are using it. And, I would like to do things like still see when I'm older and have legs.
Oh, you want your feet?
Yeah.
You don't want to be like your character that your brother.
I mean, if we get to the point where I can get the full-on cyborg legs, and I have to, have a leg amputated, I would go with the cyborg leg. But I would rather keep the leg because to get to the cyborg leg, it means I have to have really bad problems with my blood sugar and my kidneys.
See, I would go for full-on Professor X floating wheelchair thing.
Dude, that would be so cool.
Wouldn't that be badass? Only I'd equip it with like weapons, but not weapons, like Nerf gun weapons. So I could be like a little
like Sonic weapons or something.
See what I would want. See, I would want a flying wheelchair. I want to put like a 2-liter inline 4 from a Subaru Impreza on it, and turbo it, and put a NOS bottle on my wheelchair.
And wear a helmet everywhere?
Probably. It'd be an awesome trip,
All I can think about is there was this one Bloom County where Steve Dallas, and I don't know if you're a Bloom County fan, Opus.
It's been so long, but yeah, I was a fan.
Yeah. And there's this one where he tries to emulate another character because he wants to date this girl, and so he's running around in a wheelchair. And the end frame is him at the bottom of the stairs, and he's like, I'm thinking, I can do this, you can do this, Steve, you can do this, Steve. That's what I thought of, because it's the same sort of thing.
And then end with ack.
Oopak. Steve the cat.
Yep.
I used to have the album because I'm a boinger from the original copy of the collected Billy and the Boingers.
Yep.
It's lost on me, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was a
Bloom
little
County.
young when that was.
Yeah, I am. I'm old, and I like cartoons that were actually in newspapers when cartoons were.
Oh,
in
I did
newspapers.
Well, so did
too.
I was a big fan of Foxtrot. I
I-
loved.
I remember when Foxtrot started.
Yeah, that was.
I
that,
was
that
always
was.
Actually, I don't know if
Calvin
that's
and
true.
Hobbes.
That was. That was.
Always Calvin and Hobbes for me.
I do believe I remember that because it was like I don't know.
Like the one Foxtrot I
I
truly
love Calvin.
like because they still come
Foxtrot,
out with them.
sorry.
Like the one I really remember though is when the main kid hooks up his wheelbarrow to his parents' cars, and he's sitting in the wheelbarrow wearing a helmet, and there's ropes going to the back bumpers of his parents' cars, and his dad's looking down at him going, "No, your mom and I are not going to help you pod race."
That was a nerdy comic before its time for sure.
Yeah, it was.
It found a niche market really quick. Jason, I think the kid's name was.
Jason, yes.
I still
Yeah.
think of that one as a new comic because, I mean, that was what, like late 90s? That one came
Yeah,
out?
he had the eye fruit.
Yeah,
and-
Yeah.
That came out when I was
The eye fruit. I forgot
Yeah.
about the eye fruit.
like
Oh, no, I
mid
love
late
the
high
eye
school.
fruit.
I think that comic came out, or at least became popular.
yeah.
But he was one of the first people who also went digital early
Right.
when he could as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love cartoon comic strips. I mean,
Yeah.
anything from traditional stuff like Calvin Hobbes to like Apple Geeks, Omega Tokyo. I actually haven't been reading it many lately because all I've been doing is writing, editing, promoting.
As you do.
I was obsessed with questionable content for a really long time, and
I'm still reading that actually.
I've gotten out of it, and
I'll catch you up.
I'm kind of excited because I know that means that when I go to read it,
Yeah, and there's
it's
so
just going to be
much.
endless. Yeah.
I discovered
Back it up.
questionable
Like that.
content, and I love Jeff Jack's
Yeah.
work because of multiple reasons. One, I actually like his style.
I do
But
too.
You go back to the beginning and you look at his first comic.
See
and
how his
that
style changed.
is what should tell you, this is what dedication brings you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what working brings you. I mean, there's art there, but he obviously wasn't the same artist he is now.
No,
I
not-
mean, if he
not
wanted
even
to go in a
remotely,
different
really.
direction with it, he even could. I mean, you can see in the middle, if you go in the middle, the style for just Faye alone has changed so many times because his art style has changed so many times. And
Yeah.
he's moved more towards an anime style as time's gone on.
Yeah. But there's still I see his style as like it's a very hybridized style.
Yeah.
It is.
Because there's some cartoony elements like
Pint size.
Pint Size and any of the Anthro-PCs are very cartoony. The people have a very
Pint
kind
size
of
is my favorite part, though.
Kind of
When he
says
eats
it's
the
you
awesome.
cake.
dirty person.
When he eats the cake batter, like... I lost my shit at that one.
It's been so long. He says, oh.
But then his people are like kind of anime-esque, but also kind of like I don't know how else to describe it because they don't look manga
No, not
completely,
really,
but there's something else in the style there that makes it very hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the eyes are very manga-esque, but
And even with my style, I mean, there was this argument way back in the 80s, and I'll try not to, but late 80s, early 90s, a lot of American artists were like, can we even call our stuff manga? Because we're Americans, and we're not Japanese.
Right.
So we're not authentic manga artists. We're not mangaka who went to college to learn comics, and we don't, have the same culture, so can we even call ourselves that? And I sit on the viewpoint of, am I authentic Japanese manga? No. But
Well.
manga means silly pictures. It
Yeah.
means, it's basically representing a name of something. It would be like saying comics here, essentially.
Yeah.
And so, they would call it manga. They would call it,
Well-
American manga or
yeah, well they
Amerimation.
well they call
No. Nobody's calling it
Japan-
that.
nobody's
Animation.
called
no, and that's
no one-
that. Oh,
No,
we'll
but
not even get into
when
my hatred of that term.
like they'll say like Spider-Man manga. They won't say comic; they'll say manga because that's their word for a comic book. So
Remember they actually did a Spider-Man manga
Yeah,
once.
they did.
They did.
And
but-
X-Men and many other things.
Yeah,
over
but-
the
You
years.
we were actually had this discussion not so long ago,
The
but
X-Men
on
manga is crazy.
On Netflix, there is an X-Men anime.
Yes, there is.
And
I've seen
it is mind-numbingly hard to watch. Like, but it's because it's like it follows almost none of the original content. The characters are there.
The continuity's not right at all.
No, nowhere near. But the animation's cool.
Yeah.
I still haven't watched that. I need to really bad.
I was to say, but really, nowadays when it comes to comic books and stuff,
And comic book continuity.
Like
it's whatever the hell they want it to be.
I think they've almost given up at this point, and I think that's actually a good thing because there's such a long history, and there's exactly one comic book character that I know of from the big boys in the industry that ages.
Wolverine?
Nope. John Constantine. He has consistently aged since the 80s. He started out as in his early 30s, and he's now in his early 60s.
You should ask Mason how he feels about the Constantine show on TV.
Actually, I am curious about that.
Oh,
Because I've been watching it.
Well, here's the thing. They're going to move it from NBC to Sci-Fi and rename it Hellblazer.
Ooh.
Did you hear about that? Because it was dying on NBC. So they were going to move it to Sci-Fi and call it Hellblazer, which hopefully at that point maybe they'll rewrite the storylines to fit the comic a little more.
Okay.
Oh, no. Uh-oh. Here it comes.
My favorite game is Poke the Mason, by the way. I don't know if you caught that.
Poke the Mason.
Okay.
It's a time-honored tradition.
It's so great. No,
I need to keep a list of
I don't know if
podcast
you know
titles.
me,
Poke the
but
Mason.
our friend Nomi and I say that one of these days
don't
he's
think
going to
so.
snap and kill us all, and it's either going to be her fault or my fault. It's yeah.
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 But okay. Few things I like about it.
Oh.
I'm actually enjoying as a series overall. I am enjoying it. I have a few key points that I do not like, but I like that they maintain that Constantine is a total asshole. Because if he's not an asshole, he's not Constantine.
He just has no fucks to give.
Yes.
He's Constantine somewhere into the negative fucks land.
Yeah.
He has fucks. There are fucks loaned out because of him.
He's in fuck. His fuck credit score is really low.
He goes,
Yeah.
he goes to the fucky tree to get a payday loan.
You know, that's not far off from the truth.
Yeah.
Tree.
It was but yeah.
File that joke somewhere, please, because that was horrible.
No, I loved it.
They make it so he has a dark past. They make him not really a good guy. He's still... I mean, they haven't actually shown him doing any cons or anything, but they never really show him doing a lot of the actual cons in the comic book, like his profession as a criminal con artist. Like, they don't ever really show him doing that in the comic book. They don't show him doing it in the TV series, but it's not the point either.
They do show him, like, if somebody's dead, he has no problem, like, taking their watch or whatever.
No, he'll sniff a body real quick.
Yeah. Like, they've made that clear on the show pretty easily.
And he will pickpocket cops. He has no problems doing that.
Zero of the fucks.
Yeah. They have fixed one of my complaints.
Smoking?
The smoking. Like the last episode, they actually show him drag and exhale finally.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Part of that's TV.
it is, but
TV.
Constantine smokes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I agree. I mean, horrible, filthy habit that I also have.
Yeah, but still, it's not him if he doesn't.
Yeah, it's part of the character. I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be like Superman without his...
Spit curl.
Well, yeah. that would be one thing to put, but I would say more like, Superman's not Superman unless he's truly a good person.
Right.
Because that's what makes him better. It's not the powers. It's the
Right.
person on the inside.
Right, exactly. But yeah, he... overall, I've liked the show. I think the casting was really good for Constantine. I can't remember the guy's name at the moment, but
Yeah.
he's
It's
doing
a totally different conversation than I thought it was going to be, by the way.
However, I still have some issues.
There we go.
Some of them could be fixed with storyline, because they might do the lung cancer storyline
And just haven't done it
and
yet.
just haven't done it yet. So he could go to the devils, the three main devils.
Super
of hell.
spoilers.
So yeah, super spoiler alert.
Okay, if you're listening to this podcast and you don't know that about Constantine, go sit in the corner. You're in timeout.
Even if you've seen the movie, you would know that.
Yeah, well, they don't explain
But
it
he
in the
already
movie
had,
very well
but he already has cancer
in the movie.
in the movie.
Yeah,
So
but in the comic book, Constantine goes to the tricks the Lords of Hell into all making a contract with him to cure his cancer, and then they get his soul when he dies. Of course, in the current show, they're saying he's already damned because of what he's done and not saving the girl's soul. So Constantine does that, and he dies of cancer, and all three of the devils show up to cure his cancer, and they look at each other and go, "Damn it!" Because he's got contracts with all of them. None of them. They are contractually obligated to cure his cancer and bring him back to life. But he's tricked them all to the point where when he actually dies again, they cannot come for his soul, because if any of them try to claim it, it starts a war in hell.
Joint ownership.
Yep.
He's like a timeshare.
Yeah.
Each of us gets 33% of John Constantine.
We get 2 days a week.
But it specifically says they get his soul as
That's
a collector.
the question.
But but see, the thing is that each contract says specifically that they get all of his soul. Mm-hmm. So they can't claim a part of it; they have to claim it all. And he's also done things like trick God.
Again, 0 fucks.
Sacrilegious.
Convinced the Swamp Thing to grow him weed.
Yeah, convinced the Swamp Thing to grow him weed. Actually started in the Swamp Thing comic book, during Alan Moore's tenure.
He's appeared in Sandman, too.
Yep.
That was one of my favorite scenes of the movie, though, is when he's being floated into heaven and gives the fucking devil the finger on the way out. But then that backfires.
Yeah. But one of the things that's still really bugging me, and they're starting to make, for most of the episodes so far, Constantine has not been a sexual being, except for mentioning his past. And they've only mentioned, unfortunately, one of his girlfriends. Constantine's bi. Constantine likes boys as much as he likes girls. And they are not even doing anything with it.
That had completely escaped me.
Yeah.
But you're right, yeah. That's full canon.
Yeah, and they're completely not doing anything with it, and I have a feeling
They probably won't.
That they probably never will, because I think TV is still too scared of that concept.
I think Glee is working on fixing that right now. I don't watch Glee, but have you guys heard about the shit they're doing?
Yeah,
No.
but Glee is kind of happy-go-lucky-ish.
No, but they're taking...
I mean, there are depressing parts to it, but...
They've got this, super butch PE teacher. I've only seen a couple episodes because they did a Rocky Horror Picture Show one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the episode I've seen.
Yeah, that's the one I've seen because it's Rocky Horror Picture Show.
I didn't even watch that one, to be honest.
I did. It was Rocky Horror Picture Show done by Glee. It's about what you'd think. But they've got this butch PE teacher, and this...
They butchered the time warp, by the way.
Yeah, they did. Let's not talk about it. But
You can't
they
see my
are
sad
having
face in
her
the
be...
podcast.
You made me lose my train of thought.
Anyway.
Transgender. They're having her be transgender, and now she's a he.
Oh.
This
wow.
season. And the fact that Glee's doing it, I'm like, well, shit, it's Glee. That means other stuff's going to do it now, so maybe they will.
Maybe.
Because it's Glee. That's the most mainstream happy housewife show out there.
It's also up to the network, though. Glee's on Fox.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, it happening on one network is how it gets opened up for discussion on other networks.
Yeah.
It gives it a precedent. It's like with law. The state v. Glee sets a precedent.
Yeah.
See, that's one thing I love about novels, is because, and especially self-publishing, because I don't have to care about that.
Yeah.
Right.
I am bisexual, and there are bisexual characters in my story. Bisexual characters, lesbian, straight characters. I write the character as I think they should be for that character. Mm-hmm.
That's how it should be. The character should be the character as they are meant to be.
Yeah,
regardless.
I didn't go out and specifically think, okay, I'm gonna have one bisexual character and one lesbian and 2 straight characters so they can get together, and but. Part of it is I think the main character Fina is bisexual, and I think part of the reason she is because I am, and there's like I said, lesbian, straight characters in the story. Some characters that you don't even know, because it's not a part of anything.
It's not relevant to the story.
Yeah. But I think that's not having a realistic. I don't know. There should be representation because there's representation in nature.
Yeah.
It's like writing a story and pretending there were no people of minorities in space. I mean, that's one of the things that people love about Star Trek, because before Star Trek, you never had, a Russian because we were Cold War era.
Nuclear vessels.
Nuclear vessels.
You didn't have an African American woman, the first interracial kiss.
We saw her, by the way.
Michelle Nichols
Nicole Nichols is awesome. She's an amazing
tiniest,
woman.
most adorable lady I've ever seen in my life, and I want her to be my grandma so bad.
She is a quintessential grandma now.
Yeah.
And John Rhys Davies is everybody's grandpa now.
Yeah, but her hair is so cool that...
Oh, right? She had this really cool necklace that was like Star Trek insignia necklace. It was a comm badge, but it was like fancy and made of real metal. And
obviously,
Star Trek
classy
nerd. And also a nerd.
I got a little Spock thingy from my wife.
I know, I saw
Valentine's Day.
Spock thingy?
Yeah, it's a little.
It's like
it's a little bust of Spock going like this.
Oh,
Which
nice.
Spock, though?
And
Zachary
Spock.
Quinto?
No,
or?
no,
the
it's
good
the
Spock.
original. And it's
Well,
just,
I
and
don't
then
think
it comes with a
he did a
book
bad
of.
job. I think
He
that
didn't,
was
but he's
given,
not Spock. When you talk about Spock,
Yeah,
you're talking about
Leonard
Spock.
Nimoy.
Yeah, it's...
I'm with you there.
Yeah,
It comes with a little book of his logical sayings.
Nice.
Yeah.
that's kind of awesome.
Now, if you said alternate universe Spock, I would be like, the one with the goatee? And then, no, the other
that's
alternate
evil
universe.
universe.
Yeah, the other alternate universe Spock. Oh,
Zachary
Quinto.
yeah. Although I have to say, I like the Scotty better.
I like Simon Pegg.
I love Simon Pegg. I think he's great.
Who's helping write the third movie?
I know, I'm really excited for that. I do like the movies. They're just, they're not the originals.
Well, no, I mean, it's like, not to bring it up, but I'm a big fan of Ghostbusters, and that was in the news again recently. And
Aren't they remaking it with ladies?
Yep, a completely female cast, which I'm fine with.
I am too.
I would be more interested in them doing like a full-on remake, so where it's them beginning their own business than them taking over the franchise. Which
is that what it's going to be?
No, it's a complete reboot.
Yes, that would be better because that gives more freedom in character and in storyline.
But sometimes it goes badly.
Oh yeah, but see, I don't care because there's one good movie and one okay movie, and the
kind of like how there's
really
one
good
movie.
animated series that I watched as a kid, and that's all
that
I
was
really
the best.
need of.
I did kind of like the
Ghostbusters.
idea that somebody had proposed about passing the torch, though, where.
That was the Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, where Dan Aykroyd was basically going to kind of play there as their mentor and pass the business along to them as the female leads, which I thought would have been cool.
Yeah. Which, that's why I'm kind of curious about, like, sorry to jump genres, but the new Star Trek or Star Wars movie is with the old characters in there.
I'm staying cautiously optimistic.
I'm staying very cautiously optimistic, too, because J.J. Abrams did a really good job with Star Trek, and he's a huge Star Wars fan.
And he likes shiny things, which works in space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
But I'm kind of
it
wondering.
does.
Next T-shirt: shiny things work in space.
Do I need to start
Big
writing
lens
this shit
flare
down?
on the design.
Yeah, I need to write this down.
Definitely. You're gonna make me talk about.
But he has.
We should wrap this up shortly. Just putting that out there.
Okay,
Wrap your face
but you
up
have,
shortly.
Luke, Leia, and Han back, and of course R2D2 and 3PO. But
And complete lost of extended universe, but
but
I thought they reopened that as canon again.
nope.
Jerks.
No, they decided it wasn't.
Yeah. They even cut stuff that LucasArts did out of canon.
yeah.
Like the only video game that is now canon is
Lego Star Wars.
No, they were never
I
canon.
spent
The Old
all
Republic's
weekend
technically
playing.
canon because it's still licensed.
Right.
I seriously, I got it in
But
the
who
mail
knows if
on
that'll
Friday.
stay after the license goes away for
Right.
Shodor.
Opened it on Saturday morning.
But
halfway through it, oh god, that game.
with them coming back, it's like I don't really want the movie to be too much about them. I want to be introduced to the
It's
new
not
characters.
supposed to be.
Well, it's not
You
supposed
know.
to be. They're supposed to just have like pop-in parts.
I hope.
From what I've been gathering,
It's more than pop-in. Yeah.
So
it's more than cameos, especially for.
I don't know. I still like Mark Hamill. He's made a great Joker.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm not bashing Mark Hamill.
Here's my hope. Which
Their
is very
story is done.
Similar to my hope for
know.
the X-Files reboot, which, by the way, okay, X-Files reboot.
It's not even a reboot. It's like
it's like they're bringing it back.
Yeah, it's
that's not necessarily a reboot.
It's like 15 years later.
That's a more accurate thing to use the term reboot for, but whatever. It's Nikki speak. It's fine. They're bringing back X-Files, and I was been joking.
I understand what you mean now.
Right? It makes sense. So I secretly hope, in a completely sarcastic way, that it's just going to be about middle-aged Mulder and Scully raising a child together. While fighting aliens, because
as long as there's aliens,
I know. The
monster of the week could be a teenager, like,
and they should do it as a sitcom.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've been
Mulder.
They bring back Mark Shepard and they kill him.
Yeah.
Unless they did that already.
No, they're not going to do that. Stop. You're bitter.
Bitter.
But I kind of secretly hope that's what they do.
Mark
with Star
Shepard
Wars.
yelled at me.
Oh yeah.
He approaches the King of Hell and he doesn't expect yelling.
He showed up to our con, the con, and
absolutely,
and I asked him if he could record an intro for our podcast, and I got berated for like 5 minutes about how much he basically gets paid to do voiceover work.
He handled it in a not nice way, but
wow, I really wish I would have had the record button going on my phone when he said it, but
yeah, you'd probably get a cease and desist order on that one.
He's in an open area.
Yep,
he's a public figure, and they could still sue you, but
Yeah. I'm pretty sure recording someone telling
you know what?
They don't want to be
I would
recorded,
delete it if he recorded my intro.
That's blackmail.
That is blackmail.
You're digging yourself a giant
deeper hole.
Maybe you're not allowed to make decisions that have legal ramifications anymore.
Yeah, that right has been revoked from you.
Well, that'll teach him to fucking yell at me for no reason.
No, I'm pretty sure that would teach you to hit record. Well, somebody's telling you they don't want to be recorded.
Sorry, I approached you politely and asked you if you could take time out of your busy fucking schedule.
Buddy.
Mark Shepard's in everything, though.
Yeah.
He's in Firefly. He's in
Doctor Who.
X-Files. I have an autographed picture of him on my wall that I got at True City. That's the X-Files.
I was saying, to me, he's still Badger, mostly.
Badger. Oh, Zachary Quinto was in Charmed, by the way.
What?
Yeah. My sister was watching Charmed recently, and that popped in, because... he was he was a monster of the week on Charmed.
Zachary Quinto was?
Yes. One episode.
I hate to admit this. I watched Charmed a lot.
The guy who was killing the cat familiars is Zachary Quinto.
I hated that guy.
Yeah.
Oh no, he killed cats.
Mark Shepard was also an X-Files.
Okay, since you're
I already said that.
You said that? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you're not listening.
He's too busy dwelling on the past.
Quick question since Charmed. Better with or without Prue?
I didn't like Prue. She annoyed me. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I feel like I just failed a test. I got a disappointed face.
Well, I like them all.
I mean, I like them all.
I like the first seasons better. Like the first 2 seasons best.
I like the first seasons better.
Okay, then
the
we're fine.
The new sister, whose name I can't remember, annoyed me.
Well, there's Piper, Prue, Paige,
the young one.
Phoebe, so I think it's Piper.
No, it's the young one who was hot and annoying. And
Rose McGowan.
Yeah, that one. Thank you. Rose McGowan.
What's wrong with Rose McGowan?
Her character annoyed me more than Prue.
Yeah,
she's not saying there's anything. See, but there's that was
hot.
The problem with Prue was
Don't
Shannon
get me
Doherty.
Wrong.
Hot pill gothy type girl. How do you go wrong?
No. And I loved her in the freaking Grindhouse movie that she was in. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, but her character was obnoxious.
The character was annoying.
Absolutely.
I felt the same way about that character as I did Dawn on Buffy. Like, it was just an annoying character that I wanted to go away.
I can feel your pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched a lot of TV.
I did too. I didn't go out with friends. I watched nerdy television.
I never caught a lot of Buffy. I have a backlog of shows that I'm going through. I'm almost done with Star Trek TNG, and then I'm going to go through.
On.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
And then I'm going to go through
X-Files rewatch. Like, I go through the whole series.
That'll take me a year and a half to get through.
I can't go through the entire series that much anymore.
See, it's every other year for me, but that's because I started watching X-Files when it first came on.
Yeah.
I was in 3rd grade. I literally grew up watching X-Files, and when it ended, a small piece of my heart died. So
I can dig. I watched probably 80% of them on the air, and
I did too.
I
would record them because then UPN would show them later. So I could I had 2 lines of watching it going at once. Dude, I didn't have friends. It's fine.
Neither did I.
I gamed. I played video games because gaming is RPGs.
Yeah.
That's what it used to mean. Watched TV. I'm a mediophile. I love all things creative. Movies, books, movies again, video games.
More movies.
More movies. TV shows.
Sometimes movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, do us a favor real quick before we go. Give us another brief rundown of your Kickstarter.
Okay.
The thing that we're talking about.
Kind of.
My novel, Fabricated Dreams, is on Kickstarter right now. Of course, with Kickstarter, if it doesn't fund, it won't come out. But I'll still probably put it out in Kindle at least, because I will release books. But it's a cyberpunk novel. And, gosh, do I want to give a... Well, at the very least, you can go to Kickstarter and search for Fabricated Dreams, or... because they don't give you a simple URL.
No, they don't.
That's annoying.
We'll have it in the show notes.
We'll have it in the show notes,
Yeah,
though,
we
for
will.
sure.
I have
I'm
the
going on there right now.
short version, but if you like MMOs, if you're interested in cyberpunk novels, I'm a big fan of things like William Gibson, Neil Stephenson. Those are inspirations. Philip K. Dick, Heinlein, even Ursula K. Le Guin and C.J. Cherry. It's got an H at the end for a narrator. She's awesome.
And what's your goal?
My goal is $1,250. We're over 10% already. We're at like $173. I have family members that are telling me that they're going to do it, but family members. They probably will near the end.
Kind of like how they always say they're going to buy Girl Scout cookies.
I bought Girl Scout cookies.
Nobody sold me Girl Scout cookies this year. Sorry.
I didn't know you.
But yeah.
I didn't know you wanted Girl Scout cookies. I would have given Luke your number.
But it's one part murder
doesn't?
mystery.
Oh.
One
In
part.
case you're catching the show a little late, the date that's going to end is March 15th, 2015.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is my son's birthday.
Aww.
So he was born in the Ides of March.
Hopefully
One
it's
day
a good
after.
birthday.
Keep all
Let's
sharp
look.
knives away from his friends.
His name is not Brutus, and we named him Jareth after the Goblin King instead of, Caesar, for such
I
reasons.
kind of love that.
Yeah, you have to blame his mom for that one, because
Well,
she's the one who's like, I will kill you if it's anything else, after I had rejected 50 other names.
Jareth is a pretty awesome name.
Yeah, it's an awesome name for an awesome little dude.
Mega nerd points, too.
Oh yeah. He's actually a bigger nerd than me. He corrects my Star Wars and Star Trek knowledge.
It is amazing
Well,
what
Star
stuff
Wars
kids
more than
can
Star Trek.
absorb. That's crazy.
He says things like, Anakin Skywalker will never become Darth Vader. Because as far as he's concerned, Anakin Skywalker never does become Darth Vader. And now he loves Darth Vader too, but I don't know. Maybe he had a problem with it for a long time.
He's just misunderstood. He just wanted to be loved.
It turns out Darth Vader was just an emo bitch. Damn it.
No, because there's only 3 movies. It's fine.
All right.
But I did want to mention that you can, if you go to Kickstarter, there's a link to the first chapter of the novel if you want to read it. It's a good 15 pages, gives you a good idea what the story's going to be like, gives you all the major viewpoints of the main characters. Because I've mostly talked about Fina, but there are other characters. One of the main characters is a cyborg who has a bionic arm, and he's a mercenary, hired to find the killer. And the third character is a semi-professional gamer named Dayton. And he's not even sure how he fits into the story, so...
I'm just here. All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
I got an invite to the group and it got all weird, man.
He's the driver. Get in the car, man. Gotta go.
Everybody needs a good getaway driver. Actually, there is a good getaway driver in it. But
Apparently every book needs a good getaway driver.
yes, at least one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for the Nerd Effect Podcast, we have been
Malcolm Morgan.
Mason, Ireland.
Nikki Prindle.
Jason Dudley.
And I'm Dustin Vancouver. Jason, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated. And we'll catch you guys all next time.